the New York Giants will be hiring Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator and the play caller to support Jaxson Dart and the New York Giants moving forward with John Harbaugh as the head coach. Clearly, to me, there wasn't really a plan B after Todd Monken. I think John Harbaugh thought Monken was going to come with them to New York, and the moment he took that Cleveland job, the Giants were kind of scrambling, and Matt Nagy was the guy that was shined up, and they were put out there, and there was a lot of...
We heard Cliff Kingsbury, we heard Brian Callahan, and then all of a sudden, boom, today they hired Matt Nagy.
So, to Nagy's credit, at least he's going to go somewhere now where he can prove that he actually is an offensive coach.
That's something to consider with Harbaugh. He doesn't have an offensive back. He doesn't even have a defensive background. He's special teams.
Yeah.
So Matt Nagy's going to have
it's his
full
offense.
Autonomy of Jaxson Dart in that offense as Adam Abdalla looks like he just threw up in his mouth.
Well, and that's what we suggested that Matt Nagy do to then get back to the head coaching level. Is you got to go somewhere and call the plays. And that's what he's going to do in New York with Jaxson Dart. So Matt Nagy to take over the offense for the Giants.
Good luck.
And this was the research you were doing this morning.
That was the RIP Jaxson Dart career.
Okay, so you and I broadcasting usually from Chicago. You and I spending 20 years broadcasting from Chicago. We have a unique Matt Nagy perspective. Matt Nagy likes to fit the square peg into the round hole. He has one, at least from what we experience as he was the head coach of the Chicago Bears, he has one offensive system. And if you don't fit that offensive system, too bad, you're playing in his offensive system. So if Jaxson Dart doesn't fit that offensive system, at least from what we've seen, the experience that we have watching his system, that's it. So if Jaxson Dart likes to run, too bad, you're going to play the way that Patrick Mahomes was playing. So you're going to play from the pocket. You're going to learn to adapt and play that way. So it might benefit Jaxson Dart because we've seen he's been in concussion protocol in half the games that he's played so far in his career, which is not good.
Yeah.
So in order to extend his career, he needs to learn how to play and stay in the pocket, or at least not run all the time. If you want to roll out and throw on the move and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But the fact of the matter is you need to get rid of the football and not just tuck and run all the time. So if he can do that and Matt Nagy can get him to do that, then it can work out. But Jaxson Dart doesn't seem like that kind of player because he's been on the record saying, I'm not going to change the way that I play. So when you are on the record saying that and you bring in a guy that's also not going to change his style of offense, like that just doesn't seem like it's going to work out to me.
Yeah, I would describe it like this. From what we followed along with Nagy's run as Bears head coach, is that Nagy brings a lot of sizzle, but there's very little steak. And what I mean by that is he was pretty good, especially when things were going well, at implementing trick plays or things that were gimmicky. He was pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. But the down-to-down structure of the offensive play calling, stringing together different formations, taking advantage of what the defense is doing, reacting to the initial formations that you're laying out there, he wasn't good at all. And the Bears offense, even though they popped for a little bit initially, they also had a great defense that gave them a lot of short fields. And what I think ended up happening is like Nagy at that time was in way over his head as a head coach. He was trying to do way too much with all these different levels of the organization, the defense, special teams, everything. He just wasn't prepared for that moment. And he also wasn't prepared to be a head coach who gets criticized. And I think that's what happened in the Chicago market is that we would criticize the decisions he makes as a play caller, then also as a head coach with his timeouts, his challenges, all the end of game situations. Mm-hmm. The important things for a head coach in today's NFL, he wasn't prepared, and his offense didn't live up to the billing of coming from a team that had the best offense in the NFL because that's Andy Reid's offense. It's not his. And it was a cheap imitation, knockoff version of the Chiefs' offense where he wanted to implement the sizzle plays, but you ain't got Patrick Mahomes running around back there as your quarterback. You had Mitchell Trubisky. And so I think if you're a Giants fan today, Like, I forgot to say this to Costos, because Costos is a Giants fan, right?
Yeah.
He talks about it.
Yeah.
Like, we should say good luck to him when we see him later
Yeah.
at Radio Row, because, like, I wouldn't be thrilled. If I were a Giants fan today, I would not be excited because the Bears offense was not necessarily good. I think they had a lot of plays that caught highlights, and people thought that they had a good offense at the time, but I don't think Nagy's offense was really worth anything special when he was Bears head coach.
No, they put up a lot of points, but if you look at it, they had a defense that generated a historic amount of turnovers because it was a Vic
they scored. It was a defense that scored, too.
And they scored a historic amount of points because it was a Vic Fangio-led defense that put up an insane – like, there were points in the season where we were comparing it. It wasn't just people in Chicago. It was a national comparison to the 85 Bears and how good that defense was and how good they were at generating turnovers and scoring off those turnovers and pick sixes and fumble returns for touchdowns and everything. So the points were inflated where you're like, oh, the Bears are putting up all these points. And it's like, well, the defense is scoring a lot of those points. They're giving the Bears a ton of short fields. And then Trubisky doesn't have to do a lot. Matt Nagy's offense doesn't have to do a lot. They made the playoffs. They lost the infamous double doink, lost to the Eagles in the playoffs. And then the Bears just kind of fizzled out. And you're right. Nagy was very combative when he was questioned by the media. He was very combative when his.
Can you imagine how he'll react to the New York media?
When his offense was questioned, he was very combative. And the good thing is here, he's not the head coach.
He's not, but he may be under the head coach in the entire NFL who gives his offensive coordinator the most autonomy.
Yes,
John Harbaugh
with a young quarterback.
His coordinators and stays out of the way. That's what he did in Baltimore forever.
Well, and we've mocked him on this show that, like, essentially Nagy for the last couple of years, he's a caddy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Andy Reid is the mastermind of the offense for the Chiefs, and you have the best quarterback I personally have ever seen in my life play football in Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying that to be crazy right now. Like, it's Mahomes, it's Dan Marino are like the two who have played the best. Then you've got like guys who have won more, right?
We don't even know if Brady's the first ballot Hall of Famer anymore.
Tom Brady.
If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, how can you put him up there? I don't know.
He did win that ring in Tampa. We know that one was.
Aaron Rodgers is in that conversation, right? But like when you say who's the quarterback who has played it the position at its pinnacle, it's Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Who never won, so he always gets forgotten about in these conversations.
And it's
Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
Those are the two best quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life.
And we know that's not him. That's not him.
Well, Jaxson Dart, no, it's not.
And
we know it's Andy Reid, though. My point is that it's Andy Reid. It's not Matt Nagy. So, like, and now he goes to New York where, he's going to get criticized and, like, he's going to be under the microscope and his offense is going to be questioned.
And
he doesn't have to meet the media every day.
Play caller. It's, like, going to be his offense.
Yes.
He's going to have to design it, implement it, game plan. Like, John Harbaugh's not going to touch that
But
stuff.
he does have not as good of a defense as the Bears that year, obviously. But he does have a good defense to kind of support Jaxson Dart and to bail him out and to set up short fields and all that kind of stuff. So it's not the worst situation. I think it's, again, like when we talked about Mike LaFleur getting the Cardinals job, like it's just kind of we need a guy. And Matt Nagy's there.
He's a guy.
He's got an offense.
All right, quickly. I think this is a half-baked idea. You guys tell me if I'm on to something. Nagy leaving Kansas City feels like a cast member from SNL where Lorne Michaels just says, like, yeah, you should go out and you should go try and be a movie star. Right? Like one of those cast members who isn't really
a movie star.
Sure. Go ahead, Chris Kattan.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris Kattan.
I wish Lorne Michaels would say that to Mikey Day.
Yeah.
The Mikey Day
See how that
era,
Roxbury movie works out.
The Mikey Day era of SNL has been one of the worst. A Mikey Day skit is
coming up next on
terrible.
Bleck Abdalla. Mikey Day joins us from the Super Bowl.
Is he really here? Oh, no. It's Bleck Abdalla.